Hi, I'm just stopping by for a quick hello. Boy, we want to know what's going to happen next these days, don't we? And we want truth and we want peace. And one of the places that we can go to that is the Bible. Whether you're a Christian or not, actually, the Bible is a good book to have in your libraries. If you're a Christian, you believe it is the inspired Word of God. If you are not a Christian, you will still benefit from being biblically literate because there is a lot of classical literature, at least, that will have references to the Bible, and they will go right past you if you don't know, if you haven't read the Bible, or you are not biblically literate. So I would encourage you to go get one. Now, where where do you start to even find one if you don't have one? Well, you could go to a bookstore in their religion section, or you can go online and look for one. There are different translations of the Bible. This is one that I got from my grandfather when I was in the second grade. It's the King James Version. And you know what? Even as a second grader, I read that Old English just fine. But everybody has their different tastes. Some people like Shakespeare, some people don't. In college, I went to Bible college before graduate school, and I had a professor who preferred the Harper Study Bible, the Revised Standard Version, and so I used that in college. And these days, I use the New International Version, but I say that any translation of the Bible is the best one is the one that you will read. So you can if you're at a bookstore, you can open up a couple and look at a few sentences and see which sentences seem to read more easily for you, or you could even buy it based on the looks of the Bible. I know they have some Bibles where you can doodle or draw in opposing pages. So whatever you will read, that's what to buy. Did you know that the Bible is made into it's divided into divisions? Now, you can start in the middle at Psalms if you want. That'll draw you closer to God. Or Proverbs. It will help you get along with people. Proverbs has a lot of good advice for you. But actually, I always start at the beginning. This is the way I'm made. So, and that the beginning is the books of the law. Don't skip over the Old Testament. The Old Testament will really fill in the New Testament for you. And for sure, our Jewish friends, that's what they read, the Old Testament. The first five books of the Bible are the books of law, beginning with Genesis, talking about natural law, the creation of the world, and then Exodus, the freedom, actually, freeing the people of Israel from Egypt. And God gives, he lays down the Ten Commandments, which many people are familiar with, and then Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And if you get a little tired reading about the food laws, just read right past them. But for now, until you get a little more literate. So those are the books of law. History are the next 12 books, and that just talks about the history of the people of Israel. Many of us think of them as God's chosen people. And it ends with the book of Esther, who doesn't mention God at all, but it's got his fingerprints all over her story. It's a very inspiring story. Poetry is the next, and it begins with Job, who some people think it was written happened many years before some of the other ones. And it ends with Song of Solomon, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon. The major prophets and the minor prophets are next. And you know what the difference is, at least one of them, between the major and the minor prophets? It's just the length of the book. The major prophets seem to have a lot more to say than the minor prophets, or a lot more that happened in their lives. But I'll tell you, many of their prophecies have come to pass, but some of their prophecies are still unfulfilled. And so prophecy, if somebody says something is going to happen, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen right away. It can happen many years later. And so you can look at those prophecies and you can read them and you can think about them, think them over. So that brings us to the end of the Old Testament. And now the New Testament is a section of the Bible that some people haven't read yet. But I would encourage everybody, regardless of your belief, to read the New Testament. And it starts out with the life of Christ, the story of Jesus. And those four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, we call the synoptic Gospels, because optic meaning see and syn meaning you see them together, all through a different lens. Matthew sees things differently than, say, John. And then we come to the history of the church, which we see in Acts and the missionary journeys and all that happened in the people there. Then we come to a wide swath of letters, many of which Paul the Apostle wrote. And he wrote to a lot of the churches that he had stopped at on some of those missionary journeys as well. And he wrote to his friends too, for instance, Timothy and Philemon and Titus. So, and then we have some general letters that other people wrote, like Peter and John. The last book of the Bible we call Revelation. That is prophecy that has not yet happened. And some people shy away from it. It's a little different than they're used to reading, but honestly, it's very interesting. And you'll find that the same thing might be described in two different ways, maybe even in two different places in Revelation. But that's what's to come. I reread Revelation 6 these days over and over because I'm kind of watching a progression there. But you can make up your ideas for yourself. You come to your own conclusions. So I encourage you, if you are not a Bible reader, go ahead. Go ahead and start. Go ahead, read a couple verses a day. If that's all you have time for, I would encourage you to read at least a chapter a day, and you'd be surprised at what you find out. I'll see you next time.